We're going to have
I'd
a
like
phone
to call
call.
this special meeting of the Urban Forestry Advisory Board together
Thank
to
you.
order on today, Wednesday, May the 18th at approximately 5 p.m.
I'll call roll. Glenda,
Here.
Malcolm, Russell, Damon, Aubrey. Here. Hank. Here. Sue.
Here.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the landscape manual. And I think it'll probably be John et al. Running this to field any questions that we have about the manual and to ask us about any changes or what they consider or need for changes in the manual.
Yeah. Even after this manual is approved, we can still make alterations to it as we go along after it's been published on the website, but we'd really like to get your approval on the overall layout, the content, and, you know,
Readability.
Readability moving forward in context. Do you guys have any questions for me or Lee?
Well, I just had that one.
Yeah.
Well, I probably would have more if I spend a lot of time looking over it and doing in-depth stuff, but I was just concerned about this flow diagram and the circles. And it's just that it's not in the usual format for a flow diagram. If you aren't used to looking at circles, you just will just panic and go, what am I to do with this? So that was my question. And you've answered it, but if you could repeat it and so it'd be on...
Be recorded.
Yeah.
Be official.
Mm-hmm.
The intent was that if somebody's looking at this, we want them to be able to look really quickly and find what they need, and that's why we separated the flow charts into based off of what the zoning is and what their project is going to be. So like if you were a large-scale development, you could go to page 10, and then you'd see that that's your development, and then follow the process and try to just put on the horse blinders and look at just
at your color,
right?
Whatever it is, orange, green, brown, blue, whatever.
That's the intent, and I hope that came across. But if you have a better idea for how we could lay this out, I'd be happy to jive with you.
No. I just saw it and went,
I know.
Intake of air, panic, like, what am I,
Yeah.
So, no.
We
Makes sense.
We changed it a little bit. The colors used to fade from, like, this color blue down to a lighter blue, and it looked really pretty.
Right.
But I think it made it more confusing.
Yeah, it's harder to do.
So anything we can do to simplify it, I'm happy to do.
So the dark circles, the blue circles, or you have the legend, or applicant action. That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah.
Is what the dark circles as opposed to the light circles mean.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that helps clear it up. Not all of those actions and those circles and on this flow chart are done by the applicant. Just the ones that are in solid. We just wanted them to know and have that transparency on what all we're doing. Once they submit it, what happens after that, and, because that's a question that we get in the development review process is, what's the next step? So this kind of helps clarify that.
Right, so they don't see, like they need to submit it, that's their responsibility, and then it's our responsibility to review it, to do red lines and comments, to table it, so then they don't have to do anything again until they need to make revisions and resubmit. And then if it's approved, make revisions, they need to make revisions, and then submit it again to the subdivision committee.
Okay, does conditionally approved mean that it's approved pending the changes? Is that what that means?
Good question.
Are there any that would go straight through, like someone who's done this 50 times and they know exactly what they need to do? Are there any that go straight through? And how would it fit in this diagram?
I had that question too when we started.
Conditionally approved is usually we'll conditionally approve this plan based on our comments and making sure that they know that they have to submit sureties or if there are street trees requirements that they have to install these street trees at such a time, or that we'll do a lot of conditional improvements for developments to where they'll have to install their street trees, and they'll have to make a note on the timing that they're going to do it, because we don't want them to install those street trees and then start building a house on that same
Right.
lot, because the construction can sometimes conflict with something we recently installed.
Right.
So that's the kind of conditional.
So there
approval.
isn't anything that would go straight to, you're done, move on?
That's the feedback
There's always something conditionally to be approved. such
Yeah.
as
Uh-huh.
the trees and the start of the development, or,
Yeah.
And
the
you
surety
need to-
bond.
Yeah, you
Or the
need,
bond.
or the bond,
Yeah.
so there's always something. I just thought that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that same question when we started building these, because before it said approved,
Mhm.
and John and Derek informed me that it's conditionally approved. And then
Right.
even, oh yeah, so I guess that HHOD, the Hilltop Overlay District, is the only one that gets approved. Over
Yes.
there on the left, you can see, but if you go back to the last flow chart,
Which
even at
page
the
is
very
that?
bottom, it's, this is page 10, but that was page 11, the
Okay.
HHOD.
Okay.
But even on the bottom of this flow chart, it's still conditionally approved.
Approved,
Right.
yeah.
After this whole process on this chart, we go to construction review with the applicants, where they have to submit a final civil set to us, and it'll have all the information, and then we have to review that as well to make sure it matches up with what we talked about at planning commission level, and then we approve what construction documents we needed. Mostly engineering is the one that really needs that construction part, and then we'll have, after that point, a pre-con meeting, a pre-construction meeting, once they get approved, and then, you know, they can get their grading permit and start actually building. And then we give them permits as they go along, like after they have their tree preservation fencing, I'll release the grading permit. And then, you know, I'll release the building permit sometimes at that time. I try to make sure they have their sureties in place by that time, their bonds, so.
Which we talk about in the next chapter.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time I heard him talking about this, I'm like, what? You used to do what?
That's a chunk of money.
Yeah, so then I tried to lay it out like this. Okay, this is phase 1, this is what you need to do. Then you need to do this, and then phase 3. And these are the check boxes, you know, make sure that you check off each of these things to move on to the next phase. I hope that's clear.
What's the surety?
How did you get this job when you're not on the job yet?
Yeah, right.
You're asking yourself, huh?
Yeah, right, well, yeah, just doing graphic design.
We talk a lot about sureties in here, sureties.
Tell me how you came up with the $675 a tree.
We, every 4 years, we go in, we have landscape contractor or landscape maintenance company give us estimates on how long it takes for them to
I think it's the next
take care of a tree for 3 years, which is very tricky to get a contractor or a landscape maintenance company to do. And so then we take, and we do like an average at that point, or lowest bid, or, you know, we get, it's hard to get those. We're actually due to have that done really soon, so that's gonna.
I would think that ought to be all over the map.
Right.
So they post that, and when the trees live, they get it back.
Yes, 90% of the trees, yeah. And then surety is just to make sure that they do what they're gonna say they do.
And if they don't, we've got the money
Both
to...
for 3 years and then for actually installation at the end of a project. Because most construction projects, landscape is the last thing
You do.
to install. And we want to make sure that they're going to install and they don't just run out of money. They're like, I don't have any money.
So they put up the money ahead of time, and
Yeah.
then if they do what they're supposed to, they get it back.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Like a deposit.
I think all of my comments were grammatical or
It was-
spelling
Yeah,
or...
we had the word "to" at the end, ending in a preposition. Thank
No.
you for that, we don't want to do that. We had that on
Right
page
away, not
13.
right away.
Yes. And citizens at large, I had a question about that one. That's on
I
page,
hyphenated it,
on page 1.
because it's like it's one word.
Yeah, and I went looking
Where?
online, and it was like 50-50. It was like some said citizens at large unhyphenated, and some said that it was hyphenated, so I thought we could talk about it now. I don't know, and it sounds like,
I think it should be hyphenated, because
Cool.
it's one category.
yeah, what does everybody think? Hyphenate?
For,
On page 1,
okay, gotcha. Page
bottom
one.
paragraph, Urban Forestry Advisory Board, fourth sentence from the bottom, for
Okay.
citizens at large,
Because that's a category.
right, that's one.
Hyphen,
Hyphen all of them.
Yeah,
Citizens
citizens to
society.
add and add to large.
All right, I will. I'll go do that.
We had the same English teacher,
Yes.
didn't we?
Cool.
Do you all have any other questions about the general layout or content?
I'm glad I don't have to read the funky font.
Yeah. I did make an update to the appendix to make it a little more obvious that that was an example.
Okay, yeah, I
Scroll
thought,
down to it.
I thought it was instructional at first.
Okay, I
Example.
put it in, I put a gray box behind it. I don't know if that, but I'm trying to say that this is an example.
Which one
So
is
this
that,
might be
chapter
something that
5?
somebody submits, and this is
Application
funky
submitted.
landscape architecture font, right?
This is something
Correct.
somebody did submit.
Yes.
Yeah, this is an example of one.
We don't want this, right?
Well, I
Well,
mean,
it's an
we
example.
want the notes are what's important, not the font. The
Oh, I
font, they
see.
can change and alter to whatever is gonna fit, but we see this font come through regularly. It's not an unusual font for
So a lot of people use it?
development.
Yeah.
Architects,
Oh.
I think.
And then if you scroll to the next, there are
Might be a
two
little
more
outdated.
pages with the same backdrop. Keep going. Yeah, so this is, there wasn't a gray box before. I don't know if the
Oh,
version
good.
you printed
I
has a
think
gray
so.
box or not.
Okay.
But that kind of like,
Application
it
submittal.
makes it look like its own thing. Maybe that helps.
Example of standard landscape notes. Well, it doesn't come up in black and white.
It might not have been,
You
I
might
just
use
did
the
this.
ink, and your printer probably got programmed not to do that.
Well, I just did this today, like just
Oh,
at 2 o'clock.
okay.
So it might not
So
have,
that's, it wasn't, I did this, 2 weeks,
Oh, yeah.
last week when we had the meeting.
Cool,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think on the example of standard landscape notes, Arkansas one call should be capitalized because that's the way it is online. That is the name of the entity you call.
Right. I totally agree with you.
I'm not
This
sure.
is just an example from the past. I don't have the
There we
original
are, giving
version.
an example.
Yeah, but they should have used you, Sue, as a proofreader for these notes. No, I totally agree.
Okay.
And I would make those changes if I could, but I don't have the ability to.
Well, what did it mean in number 8 where it said all plans are subject to the approval of the landscape architect? Does that mean our landscape architect on staff, or does it mean the one they hired?
I think it means the one that they hired,
Mhm.
but I haven't started the job yet.
Shouldn't
so I don't know.
shouldn't,
Yeah, I thought we would do this.
I would think we would be approving.
We do approve of the whole process, but
If they want
We
a plan
have-
printed, I want you to scream.
I do.
It's,
and-
you're not allowed to anymore.
Yeah, I do. But with these notes, these are for what the contractor is putting on the documents to show, because a lot of our development processes require a landscape architect, a licensed landscape architect. So there's reference to them throughout these notes.
Okay, gotcha.
So they're subject to, the landscape architects is subject to you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
And I tried to make the appendix really usable so that, go back to that. Oh, yeah, so any page, wherever there's a header, it tells where you can find it in the manual, so reference on page 8, so you can scroll back to the page that you were on. Easy to find. And then, yeah, Sue, I made all your changes, and now, since we talked tonight, I'm thinking I'm going to go through and italicize.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
That can be-
The scientific name?
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, it makes, because you expect it.
Okay, and then the coolest part about the manual is the hyperlinks.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously, here's one hyperlink, the completed landscape surety form, and we had Augusta in our communications department make an interactive PDF, so you can
Yeah.
Oh,
click on it
nice.
and then
I think I
print
went to
it.
that one.
So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to be able to do paperwork on the computer
Yeah.
and just print it out.
Or
Right.
just email it, yeah.
14.
And then, so there are 2 landscape surety forms. There's the next one. Then scroll up. We're going backwards here, so that's okay. And then the next one is, these are
Yeah.
calculators that John made. They're beautiful. And you have to hit open. No, that's right. Yeah, you have to hit open. So this is opening an Excel spreadsheet from our website. and the spreadsheet is locked except for the cells that you put in information about your site, and then it tells you how many trees you need to put on site.
The hyperlink, where is it, in here? I thought
It's a
It's
clickable.
throughout
Oh.
the document.
Uh-huh,
Let's see.
So you might not be able to see it because it might not come up light blue.
Yeah, see,
Oh.
right
Black
here
and
it's
white
showing.
oh, yeah, okay.
It might just look like the same
Yeah, I was
color
looking for the
font.
red, and I'm looking, and it's not there. So
Yeah.
It's just not there.
Oh,
It's there,
there it
but I
is.
can't see it.
So you can't
Neat.
edit the sheet except for the yellow cells. And then I added these little directions down at the bottom, 1, 2, and 3, so that it's obvious what you need to do.
You can select what zone you're in.
Isn't that cool?
That is good.
That's
yeah.
nice.
You can select if
Every
it's...
form.
So
should be that
everything
way.
is there that they
you
need, they
there,
don't have to
Hank?
go back and forth between, emails.
I'm sorry, what was that, Hank?
Oh, good.
Okay.
That's all John. He made these.
Good.
Are we ready for a motion? Have we,
I think so.
Okay, are we ready for a motion? Who wants to make it?
I move that we recommend the approval of the landscape manual.
I'll second it if we can talk a little longer
Oh, well, sure. We
after
can
we
discuss the motion.
do this.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. All in favor?
Wait, he wants to discuss it a
Oh,
little bit
oh,
more.
No, I want to discuss a specific example. It's an educational thing. We can go ahead and
Oh,
approve
Okay.
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 the work here.
The motion is up, it's been seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passed 4-0. Okay, Aubrey, you wanted to
Okay.
mention
Um,
something?
I'm happy to talk about it all night. I love this. This is like my baby right now.
I'm sure nobody else wants to talk about it all night. I just had, about a week ago, week and a half ago, whatever, might have been exactly a week, somebody was walking up my driveway hollering at me, "Come out, come out." So that person dragged me up to Middle Ship, you know that street? And there were several acres bulldozed there, and muddy water was running off and into the Beaver Lake watershed through the town branch, and all these things. And so an engineer from the city showed up while I was out there with this guy, and he checked over the place, and he was primarily concerned about muddy water running off, which isn't supposed to happen, but it happens from every site, especially the way we have bigger rainfall. So, that's not him, is it?
No.
No.
The press.
Oh, good, okay. Then he got the result. But anyhow, I was wondering, I hadn't heard about that particular project being even proposed, and I was wondering, what category did it fit in on here? What?
I'm very aware of that project. I got a phone call about it as well. It did not fit into a category that we review. Tree preservation or urban forestry did not review that project. It was a street and utility improvement, and all the lots on it were designated ahead of time, so it didn't have to be platted, it didn't have to be, all I had to do was approve of the one section of tree preservation fence that they installed, they said they were going to do, and they did, and then they went in and did that.
Are there some trees on the land that are saved?
Yeah, there's a small group. It was kind of shocking to see what they had done. I'm
So
not
you've
going to
seen it
pretend.
since then?
It was.
The ship is up on Markham Hill?
Uh-huh.
Yes, and
On the south slope.
you know, I pointed out to Allison, I've taken
You're Ramey.
pictures. I pointed out to Allison, I've taken pictures, I've documented, you know, what process it went through with us. And, you know, we're gonna, look into it further. I'm not sure what we're gonna do on that particular situation. That's a very unusual situation.
Because it wasn't scheduled to be developed. Right.
No, it wasn't. It was for street improvements. I don't know if you noticed how small those roads are, they're very small, so that part I get, and they're gonna put sidewalks on them, they're gonna bring it up to date, and then they had to put utilities, because eventually they're gonna, develop the site, so they have to get it ready, but I'm not sure, I'm with you, and I'm with the person who pointed that out to you. I think it was shocking to see how much was gone, and, you know, it's one of those things we're gonna have to think about as staff to figure out
Well, yeah,
what to do moving forward in those particular situations so that it does come under a full review. But that wasn't subject to a full review by Urban Forestry, and it
I
didn't.
don't know,
You know, it's
have
been
you
about
gone
a
to
year or
the
so
council?
That property down south of the Best Western, right along Futrell, you know, that was all densely wooded, and they just cleared out all the underbrush. All the underbrush was cleared out and piled up. And I asked Ken about it, and he said, property owner has the right to do that.
Well, we've had
They do have the right to do that.
there's been a rule in the past that was enforced on some property several times, where if you intentionally dozed and removed all the trees from a piece of property, even though you had bought it, not had it on contract or something. And then you ask for development, then the ordinance would be posthumously applied.
Really?
That's
and you
correct.
had 5 years before you could do any development. That was in lieu of a penalty, which could have been prison according to
That's
us
still-
tree huggers, you know.
Well, it's not, yeah, that is in place. So whenever they go to develop certain parts of this nettleship, it's gonna be in the Hillside Overlay District. And those particular lots, which I think is only 4, which is not a lot, they will be subject to any prior tree removal penalties. And that's a 10% penalty. I have a case going on, another site in town, where
Is it Drake?
they will possibly be subject, if they try to develop in the next 5 years, 10% of that site. And
Is
they
that
had,
the Drake and Greg?
yeah, and they had 4 different lots on there, and I'm not 100% certain, but I know they've damaged 3, so they're at about 175 trees they're gonna have to replace, which is a lot. That's a lot of trees.
But
So
only
they're
if they
just
go
kind
to
of-
develop it.
Only if they go develop
How
within the
many
5
acres
years,
is it?
which
How-
they
how-
put it up for sale. It's one is 5 acres, one is like 1 acre, and another lot is, you know, a little bit over 1 acre. And then there's a third one that's 3 acres, but I still need to confirm one way or the other if they, I think they did destroy on all of them, so that comes to about 200 trees. Yeah.
But now the Best Western site, because it was underbrush, that doesn't,
Actually,
there was a lot of cedars they cut down.
yeah, and they haven't applied for any kind of development either, and
We
that
don't
was
know
a
what
lot of,
there. It was a lot of stuff.
it was a lot of invasives, it was a lot of privet and honeysuckles, what they cleared
A lot of
out.
cedars too.
Yeah.
How about that, development along Mission? If you're heading from,
That never-ending development on it.
well, it's, I don't know,
Rankin,
but,
what?
I forget who's doing it, but if you're coming from,
Ruskin Heights.
yeah, if you're coming and heading toward crossover,
Mm-hmm.
it's on the right-hand side,
Mhm.
and it was just kinda, just grass and stuff there, but now they've begun to, it's just cleared out. I mean, whatever was there, they're working on that.
There wasn't,
So long, I don't remember.
yeah, there
Yeah,
wasn't,
they had done some stuff in the past, but then it kinda stopped, but recently,
went
within the
bankrupt.
past, 6 to 8 weeks, they've invigorated their efforts, and, it looks more like subdivision going up, but there aren't any trees in there.
it is a subdivision going up, there are 2 trees, right at the top of the hill.
I know, but down there where, up
No.
to the road, there's nothing but dirt.
Please tell us it's not a tree of heaven.
It has, it's actually an interesting thing that you brought that one up. That's Mission Heights, and I met with them just recently, and they're preserving those 2 trees. You're laughing, those are nice, those are huge
I know, but
trees.
it's 2 trees, but when you look, you don't see those 2 trees way back
Well, there's nothing on that piece of property beforehand. I don't remember
There was
there.
one house up there.
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
longest time, and they're not
Carolyn
subject.
Madison, I think, lived there.
It may have been, but I don't believe that
Well,
there was a forest. There was no forest up there. I'm
No,
positive
but,
on that.
no, it was grass. It was all
Yeah.
grass, but now they're developing it, and so I was just
They
wondering,
re-sculpted it,
do they
so I
have to
don't-
put trees in?
Yeah, they're gonna put street trees in there. They're doing
Okay.
that detention feature, doing a detention feature, and they're putting a lot of trees around that thing. So I'm confident on that one, it's gonna be fine, and it's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, I just asked because I
Grading.
pass by infrequently,
Yeah.
and I knew that it was just grass up there, but now it's just all dirt, and I thought, well, what did they do? And I could see the little plots going in.
Yeah, they have actually managed to create a cool, very unique water feature out of their detention pond, and they're making it a feature, and they've got wildflowers planted on the side.
What is all the balcony or whatever?
Yeah, the
That's
cheers.
That's the or their detention feature that's collecting all the water and retaining it and, keeping it so polluted. They've made it actual feature for their entire subdivision, and they're putting a boardwalk around the rim of it, and they've planted it really well, and it's gonna connect to the sidewalk, and, it's gonna look really good. They're doing a very good job with that, and it's a unique development with a unique feature now.
Well, at one time, I think that was gonna have shops and some multifamily. It was one of those mixed kind of,
I've not seen that plan, I've only
that was
seen
old.
residential, and they're
This is-
starting to build the first residential homes up there.
Is it all single family?
I believe so. Yeah.
It'd be nice to see
So-
something constructed that wasn't rent-a-bedrooms.
You're actually talking about the man who owned, the home that belonged to the man who owned Rogers Wreck, right? It was one big house up on the
Yeah.
center of it, yeah.
Well, Carolyn and
I don't know about,
Gumbo Madison lived there, but they weren't the original owners. I think they did.
well, anyway, yeah, and it was gonna be, what heights? Ruskin Heights, yeah. And I went up there in 2005 or 6 with Sierra Club members and met with the developers. First thing I asked them, do you have the money to actually complete this project? Because it was already getting tough and things were failing.
Oh,
And the gentleman said, oh, yes, young man, they said, we've got the money.
famous last word.
It-
Yeah, really.
They did a lot of destruction, a lot of removal of trees and scraping and all this, and then they couldn't do it. That's the way so many
Huntford and
projects in
Richmond.
Fayetteville have turned out over the last decade or so. But anyhow, I remember from inside that old house where Roger Ketter lived, I stood there and handed somebody a video camera, hold this on that fox
Oh,
outside the window while I made still pictures. And after a while, everybody that was going on a little tour of the place with the developers showed up, and I stopped doing that and went out and documented a lot of native plants on the property and all this. And then, after he had been a failure for several years, I called Joe Neal and got him to go up there with me, because I said, I see this picture of this bird. Oh, yeah. I said, where is it? We go up there and you can get it from 100 feet away or with a zoom. And yes, it's whatever it was. It was a bird that's from the West Coast typically, doesn't come to Arkansas. And it was his first time to see one. He's seen every kind of bird that's ever been in
Imagine.
Arkansas in his lifetime, it seems, He goes birding somewhere within 100 miles, sometimes further, every day of his life, I think now, since he's retired from the Forest Service. But anyhow, it's been so bad that it's always been this problem of people doing things. You guys can never control it all, even if you're the strictest you can be with these rules. And these are great things to try to do. But they're just people that don't intend to, they don't care about, they're not educated about water quality or the value of trees. Global warming is a myth or something, or it is, there's something about them. I don't know. But
My property, I have a right to do with it whatever I
ah, yes. And they said that even though those fellows didn't have the money to pay, I was talking about, they didn't have the money to finish paying for it. They just were paying for construction starts, the activities getting ready for it.
Are there any
So
other
that's
items
all these years.
for discussion?
I want to leave this on a positive one. Let me pull
Okay.
this up for you guys. I'm gonna blow your minds a little bit.
And it's John's birthday today.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, happy
Oh.
birthday! You should have said something. You should have had a little cupcake.
I was just hoping we had a quorum. Okay, so I was doing a little research for 2015 to get our numbers to find out what's been done. So, development numbers, there was 98.29 acres of existing canopy on the developments we reviewed. We preserved 75.16 acres of that existing canopy in
That's awesome.
2015. That's 76%.
That's great.
We required mitigation trees. We had them plant 1,147 mitigation trees, 1,391 street trees, which is about 8 miles, by the way, if you plant one every 30 feet. And then 972 trees were required for detention and water quality features, and 221 parking lot trees were required through development. Total of 3,731 trees were required through development services.
That's
That's
cool.
great.
Is there any way
Good
you
number.
report these numbers, or is it just?
It's
for-
something
do it in
I
the annual
started in
report?
I started in 2016, and I do a monthly report, and then I share that at our monthly meetings. I haven't started with ours, but I guess I will
This
start
should-
that.
Can we put
Definitely
that in the
be in the-
annual report next year?
Yeah.
Yes.
That would be
These
fantastic.
are-
If you could actually give them numbers.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
do we measure our tree canopy? I know in the annual report, I think we're at 38% and we're wanting to be at 40. How do we measure that and see if we're improving?
All
All
That's
these
a good
street trees
question.
we're doing should be helping.
I think so. I mean, I'm probably going to get there. You know, I told you guys I'm a little number crazy. I like my numbers. So I'll probably figure that out soon. I don't know how they did it for 2012 when they did their report. I wasn't involved, so I'll try to figure that out. I think, you know, just from looking at these reports and through development services, that we're increasing our tree canopy.
Well, I would think that, but then I don't see all the new subdivisions that go in that.
Yeah.
They cut them all down, so what are you saying?
Well, here's the weird thing, of all the developments that we reviewed, there was 382 acres worth of reviews in 2015. Not all of that's tree covered. It's a lot of fields and green fields. And they still have to go in and plant street trees and
Oh,
detention
so it does
trees.
increase,
So
what
it
they
does.
take down,
You
they're
know,
putting up
gotta-
anyway,
Yeah,
in another form.
yes. That makes sense.
Yes. I have a question that was sparked by the new sidewalks that are going up. I see they have spots in the sidewalk for trees. Have those been decided upon, or if will Urban Forest?
Like on the way to the VA?
Yeah.
That's going to be our summer
Oh,
project.
okay.
It'll come up and we'll run it through you all, of course.
Okay. Okay. If there is no other items for discussion, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Hi.
Aye?
Hank says aye.
Yeah, he said aye. Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.